con fines pedagógicos for learning law. Revista de Direito Internacional, Brazilian Journal of International Law. Decolonial perspectives on the normativity of civilizing discourses and the metaphor of human rights. Perspectivas decoloniais sobre a normatividade dos discursos civilizatórios e a metáfora dos direitos humanos. Antônio Carlos Wolkmer, Débora, Ferrazzo. Introduction. Based on this ontological and epistemological tension, this study proposes an approach in relation to human rights and, in a related way to the system, it integrates international law and its institutions. It is hoped to contribute to the emerging field of decolonial criticism, which in recent years has consolidated new knowledge and driven the transformation of national systems and demanded the democratization of law and organizations that structure the international system. Therefore, the role of colonization processes and the subsistence of contemporary colonialism, named by Pablo González Casanova as global colonialism and by Aníbal Quijano as coloniality, must be rebuilt. The perception of these phenomena provides a critical reflection on the limits, metaphor as defined mutua, and possibilities are necessary but not sufficient, Dussell's idea of mediation, of human rights. This interaction is sought in the idea of decolonization of human rights, so to contribute to the theoretical and practical process of decolonization of human rights is the central objective of this study. The methodological adopted will consist of an anadialectical approach, as it constitutes a method of Latin American thinking based on its own historical reality, in a sense in which it transcends dialectics, even Marx's materialist dialectics, by including the perspective of victims in their reflective moment. The anadialectical approach consists of understanding the totality, European rationality, Eurocentrism, and its abstract determinations, which in the present study are delimited in human rights and to a lesser extent international law and its institutions. To these dialectical materialist moments is added the moment beyond the ana, as Dussel called, of anadialectical, the critical interpellation from the exteriority, that is, from the victims who are affected by consensus of the totality, without being part of its argumentative processes. This critique from exteriority is delimited in decolonial debates, in interdisciplinary articulations, and will deal with a reflection in the relation to a civilizing species and the paradigms they spread, extracting the analysis references from them to later be applied in the reflection of what are identified as manifestations of such species. Employing the method of historical procedure is presented the guiding thread of history, through which begins and develops the diffusion of a discourse that expands until it reaches, in modernity, a global scale, and which maintains since its origin the dichotomy between civilized people and barbarians. The adoption of the critical historical procedure derives from its formulated in Wolkmer, which places the conditions for critical understanding of reality in the historical field going beyond the strict field of normativity, establishing dialogue with philosophy, sociology, anthropology, and other dimensions of knowledge that, despite Cartesian reason, indeed are inseparable. Methodologically, the procedure examines legal phenomenon as a sociocultural expression, produced dialectically by human interaction through time and materialized by historical sources. Legal documents, operating agents, and regulatory legal institutions. Thus, the understanding of legal phenomenon demands the critical disciplinary reinterpretation that is, law needs to be viewed as a reflection of a structure that is formed from the mode of production, relations of social forces, ideological representations, power manifestations, among other factors. Through such methodological procedures, it is possible not only to verify but also to demonstrate the subsistence of colonizing dynamics that, aiming at the homogenization of the Eurocentric paradigm and of dependence and domination historically experienced by peripheral societies, this dynamic in relationships now is highlighted and questioned, especially in the scope of social sciences, in debates such as the one regarding the characterization of insurgencies from the global south, or the political and intellectual code movement named Third World Approaches to International Law, WALE, and practices of resistance from below instrumentalized by human rights. The research technique adopted consists of consulting and indirect sources, in particular literature review. Regarding the selection of theoretical sources, will be prioritized authors from the critical decolonial field, as the 12 whose studies and theoretical elaborations have contributed to the systematization of a critique of colonial practices and widespread domination in the field of international law and more specifically human rights.